Welcome back, Juventinità, to the Juventinità, back to Black and White podcast. My name is Daniel Lenegro, and I'm live from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And today we're going to be going over our 2-0 win against Cagliari and everything that we're going to be talking about after the game. There's been lots of narratives, lots of great things that we saw. And it was probably the nicest game that we've been able to watch in a while, probably since Sampdoria, at least positively. I mean, at least in the first half. A second half, we got back into our ways, but we'll get into that in the show. Another new guest today for this podcast. I would assume that a lot of you guys know who this is, but just because of social media and how big all these accounts have been getting, and like I said, we got a big community out there. So again, you'll know who this is, guys. Just before we start, as usual, please smash subscribe, drop a like if you could. That would be amazing. It really helps me out. Click the bell for notifications. That's going to get you the most up-to-date ability to watch the shows, as well as iTunes, Spotify. Please follow again. It'll drop right into your feed, and that'll keep you up to date. It helps me out. It helps motivate me, and I've been really appreciating the support so far. So that's all I can say from that. And then without further ado, we bring in our guest, Farhan. Thank you for coming on. As I said before, you'll know exactly who it is, at Turin Tactician. So it's a pleasure to have you on the podcast, and I hope we have a good time today.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. Yeah.
So like we've been talking before the show, obviously you're a student in Dresden, Germany. So we're sitting at different times right now, but obviously originally from Bangladesh. And I know you were on Al's podcast as well, but for anyone who hasn't particularly listened to that episode, if you haven't, kind of give us a brief breakdown, what we like to do, anyone who's new. Obviously how you became a Juve fan. Like I said before, you were previously from Bangladesh. So it's always nice to hear from anyone who's, obviously not from Italy or not from North America, and how you became a fan.
Okay, so first of all, what we generally do in Bangladesh, we only watch the international games. Now it's not, but when I was young, before, around 2000 or something, we are more obsessed about international games, but club games, not really. The first club football match I watched was, where Marcelo Zabaleta scored against Barcelona in 2002-03 UCL campaign. But that was I maybe watched the last 30 minutes or so. The full game I watched was against Real Madrid, and I saw some players who claw for every ball, they'll fight for every ball, and they'll fight everywhere. And Del Piero had this goal, he took one player or this one player that was really good, and then Buffon made the save. And he's my favorite football player since then. Yeah, so I also have Buffon artwork in my table as well, and yes, that's the first time. And then Nedved scored the goal, and he had that long blonde hair, and when he runs, it looks like a horse running in the game. That was very inspiring. And then there is Edgar Davids, who plays with glasses, which I also do after that. So I said, okay, so this is a team to love.
Yeah, that's awesome. That was such a big. Those are such big games, and yeah, I mean, it was same for us. Talking about, I know on the 50th episode that we had, we talked about where we've come from, having this Juve community now to where it was before. And I mean, even for us, it was almost impossible sometimes to find games, even big games, like a regular Champions League game. So I definitely appreciate the struggle, and being able to, obviously pick the black and white stripes is always nice. Obviously, you're on the show because of that. But yeah, it's unbelievable. And Buffon, yeah, just to see this guy get chewed out the past 2-3 years has been so unfortunate. But I agree, it's been really nice to see him even in just these couple games that we've got to see him so far come back in, and still with the leadership shouting and commanding the box and telling the players where to go. It's really been awesome. And Yeah, one of like I said, like I was telling you before in the pre kind of podcast, the pre talk we had, that jersey in the background there. I'm sure everybody who's going to be watching is gonna be like, how the hell did he get that? One of the most sought out jerseys. That one and the gold one as well. That's like those two are the standouts that you think about when you look back at the 2006 World Cup, right?
Yeah, so no, this one is not an original, it's a replica. So it's something from beautiful 90s. I think Simpson is one of the models in that
Yeah.
website,
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so it's from there, it's from beautiful 90s, it's a replica. And the Ronaldo one I won during the World Cup in a fantasy football competition. Yeah.
Nice. That's always
No, no,
that means you
it's
did a good
funny.
job.
Yeah, I mean it's funny because we are then linked with Golovin,
Yeah.
Alexander Golovin, and no one knows him. And I was like, okay, let's maybe he'll be a Juventus player in the future, so let's take him in my team.
Yeah.
And he was like, okay, yeah,
That's
like a
awesome,
lot of
man.
points, yeah.
Because I'm looking at my and I didn't join the Serie A one because I've gone a couple. I'm in a couple others that it takes a lot of time, right? You got to do the research, you got
Yeah.
to find the players. But I did the Champions League one that Al put out there. And I'm like, oh, like I got a pretty good team. I'm pretty hyped up. And then I'm looking, I'm like second last place. I'm like, okay,
No,
this is why I don't
no,
join these. This is why I don't join these leagues.
the World Cup one is like small, so it
Yeah,
was easy to follow up. But the other leagues, I used to when I was still in a bachelor's, but after maybe 10 or 12 games, I lost track of the games. I keep
yeah,
forgetting.
it's
Okay,
tough.
today
It's
they have
tough.
games, so I just don't care. But World Cup, it's like very few games, so it's easy to maintain and
Yeah,
control. Yeah.
true enough, true enough. But yeah, no, I definitely know it's difficult. But yeah, congrats on winning that. I don't think I'm gonna be winning any fantasies anytime soon. But yeah, let's get right into the news. So
Yeah.
obviously there's been lots of talk about Ronaldo's future, Dybala's future. Paratici just confirmed, obviously reassuring the fans that his future is going to be at Juventus, and that he's going to be at least honoring his contract. I don't know. Again, it's up in the air. What have your thoughts have been on the Ronaldo talk? Whether he wants to sign, whether he is going to sign. Do you think we should give him an extension? Kind of give us your thoughts, Farhan.
Yeah, I think we should give him an extension. I mean, it's
Okay.
not like he's suffering, because he's thriving, he's scoring goals. Yes, maybe. I mean, I feel like yesterday he should have scored a hat trick because he
Oh
had
yeah.
the opportunity in second half. Yeah, but still, he's like scoring goals. The second goal was really good because it's not easy to drag the ball from behind. Second
Yeah,
goal was really good. Yeah,
I
so
agree.
I think he deserves an extension, and he will stay with us. Yeah, because he likes to be he likes to be the focus point. He likes to be competitive, and he's very competitive. So I don't think he'll be going to, like, I don't know, Paris or MLS or anywhere. I think he'll stay here because he wants to take the sulky in the pressure. Yeah, so I think he'll stay. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, see, the only problem I have is, and I'm not going to try and reach into saying that this could turn into like a Kadira situation because obviously we're looking at two different players. But
Yeah.
the only concern I have is, obviously the wages are going to be very high, and if Dybala goes on this path where we don't figure something out and we do get rid of him, okay, if we do extend him for 2 years, you're looking at an elevated age, right? Later into his 30s. And does that mean, like, if something goes wrong, or we're going to be on the hook for that? So that's the only thing I worry about, kind of looking at the bigger picture. And then obviously right now it looks like he hasn't been phased at all with even getting COVID a few weeks ago. So that's good. That's good news for us.
Yeah.
Also looking at what he's done so far, um, the last time Ronaldo scored in each of the first 5 league appearances, he ended up with 48 goals in one
48. Yeah.
season. So that was the 14-15 season. So I mean, heck, if we could do that now this season, that would be incredible. I mean, incredible for us. We need the consistent goal scoring. That's what we've lacked really
Yeah.
in the past. I think though now we do need the rest of the team to pick up the slack and contribute more, because you get into these situations where you have one guy who's scoring a lot. If that gets taken away, I mean, teams can, throw schemes and throw different formations. If that drops off at any point, or even just during one game, we're not talking about over a stretch. If we're in a knockout situation where the team's able to, maybe even if he scores 1 or 2, he's not scoring 5 or 6. Well, that's a big difference, right? So we'll have to see what happens. It looks like there's going to be some turnover in this next game, though. Szczesny, Frabotta, McKennie, Chiesa, and Dybala could all start according to Tuttosport. We'll have to see what happens. I don't know. There's been a lot of talk online about these constant formation changes, and I think we got to build some consistency and use kind of the same lineup that we're expecting to be using. If we don't, we're moving too much. I know it is Ferencváros, and again, that should be a game that we easily win, even if we did play a second team. But I think we got to get in a roll and that's kind of my comments were at the end of the game where, okay, sure, we look pretty good this game. It's a good win. It brings us back up into the table. But let's not get too excited, right? Let's string 3 or 4 of these together and then say, okay, we have something to work with, right? Because we could always go back into our old ways and make some mistakes. And again, Pirlo's been learning, but he's also still made some mistakes. So let's see if those can get corrected. One bad take I saw on Twitter, and I thought this was just so unnecessary that I wanted to bring it up. Forza Juventus EN, which I really enjoy what they do, and I really appreciate all the news they put out. But they brought up a stat about Danilo being dribbled past 4 times in this game, and saying it was his worst performance of the season. And I thought that was just a massive reach on their part, and saying that Alexandro's back, so he needs to wake up. I mean, really, like I said, when you don't hear a player's name, it's usually a good thing. You don't want to hear someone's name, especially on the defensive end, because that's usually when they're making mistakes. So I honestly didn't think Danilo had a horrible game at all. But again, I don't know, what did you think about Danilo in this game against Cagliari?
I mean, the thing is, like, it was a pretty easy game, yes. And if this is the worst performance of Danilo we had this season, then it's much better. It's much better because than what we watched last season. Last season it was like watching him was like torture. So if this is the worst, then we're okay. It's acceptable.
Yeah. No, I was just surprised they put that out there. I was like, you're really gonna be we just won 2-0 in a pretty convincing game. You really want to put that out there, but it is what it is.
I mean, in basing on consistency, he has been the most consistent this season. Our defense.
I agree 100%. Just some praise for De Ligt and Demiral. Obviously, defensive work really well. 16 duels won, 7 clearances, 4 tackles, 2 interceptions, and a block shot to add to all that great stuff. And it was really nice to see them back. And no one getting injured. That was another thing. I think it's been crazy. Obviously, we've had COVID, we've had nagging injuries. It's just nice to have some consistency. What are your thoughts on that?
Finally you get to see, like, Turkish delight, as someone says. I think it's damn it, Mac. I think it's Mac who said it. It's Turkish delight. So finally you get to see them together. It was really great seeing them. And I saw the interview of De Ligt, and he's saying, like, I got injured in my shoulder, but my feet are okay, and I worked on it, and it was good because he is like really focused. And I don't speak Italian, but many people are really praising about him, and even the interviewer also saying, like, you have learned Italian a lot, so it means that he wants to stay. He wants to stay, so we should focus on that as well.
I don't think I don't think that was anywhere in doubt. The only where that was in doubt was Barcelona fans
now they are awful at the moment, so I don't think anybody will. And now I feel sorry for Pjanic.
Well, I mean, Artur's done a very good job, so I've liked that replacement. And speaking of Artur, obviously 681 passes completed tonight. That's the most Juve's had in a single match this season. and I've liked this movement. I've really been talking about having uh, a high production of either passing or movement, and that's really what this team needs, especially if you want to play in this style. So it was really nice to see that, and really nice to see the movement. Obviously, Artur holding the ball up really well, obviously distributing the ball really well as well. And I thought, even though he wasn't in a couple deeper positions, sometimes it's always kind of he does move it back and side to side, but
Yeah,
I
sideways.
find a lot of the time he does move it forward when he has the possibility, and I found that's what Pjanic was lacking. It was always really just okay, go side to side, side to side,
Yeah,
side, and then it really became okay, move it down the wings, cross it in, and we do the same song and dance, which honestly I thought was what we did in the beginning of this game, but we'll get into that later. Just looking at some rankings that have come out, Romeo Agresti, Cristiano Ronaldo at 7.5, Delict at 7, Demiral 7, Artur 7, and Bernardeschi 7. I think that's pretty spot
yeah,
on.
yeah,
And just some kind of final things to touch on before we get into the actual game. It's going to be a busy period coming up. We got a lot of games. This is kind of going to be make or break, especially because if you look at the standings, it's so close. So if some teams start dropping off at this point, I wouldn't be surprised. Obviously, with Ferencváros midweek, then Benevento on the road, at home again versus Dinamo Kiev, followed by the Derby della Mole against Torino in our house, and Barcelona then on the road the game after. That's going to be pretty much for the group. Well, we hope, right? If barring we anything else happens but wins in these next two games, that'll be a game for the group essentially. And then on the road against Genoa, home to Atalanta, on the road to Parma, and then finally to end the year against Fiorentina at home. So again, a lot of big games. Nothing too critical, I would say. Atalanta, I think, is going to be a tough game. The way we played today, you're kind of assuming that we will be able to beat these,
beat them.
if you want to call them smaller teams. Barcelona obviously lost on the weekend to Atletico Madrid. Good job, boys. And yeah, it's all up for grabs. I wouldn't say there's any massive games coming up, so it's definitely we should be able to take the majority of points on these. And even looking at the table, obviously there's a game to be played with between Milan and Napoli that's going on. It's probably just 10 minutes in now.
Yeah.
But as the standings go right now, we got Sassuolo at 18 points, Milan at 17, Roma at 17, Juve at 16, Merda at 15, and Napoli at 14. So, barring some movement, it potentially could stay the same. Milan potentially could go to the top, or Napoli could join in the tied for second spot. So that's really what could happen after today. But again, it's a close race as of now. So again, any fluctuations in these next 10 or so games is really going to make the difference. And that Napoli game, really having those 3 points is really helping us, because now we're at 13 and below all of those teams. So that's good to have.
And it's something like, making me mad as well, losing the point against Lazio at the last second, and also not being able to defeat Crotone, So these are two things which are, really like, making me a bit angry.
Look,
but yeah,
there's so many games where we've had this year. I mean, we have like 4 wins, 4 draws. So
yeah, I mean, we are still undefeated, but
you look at the, like I said, you look at the Roma game, like that was a horrible game. I mean, that could have been a loss almost.
Yeah.
You look at, like you said, the Crotone game. Obviously, you look at the Lazio draw. Not really great. Like there's lots to improve on. So it's good we're in this position again. Hey, I'm not saying we shouldn't be here, but let's not take that for granted.
Yeah.
And there's, again, it's going to be a long race ahead. We'll get a little bit of a clear picture after these 10 games, but even then, if some of these teams, I mean, to see Sassuolo still at the top with 18 points is pretty incredible to
Yeah.
say the least. Not losing a game at all, and that really speaks to how well Locatelli's done, as well as kind of how this group has come together.
Yeah, Death Sarbi is doing great job. I mean, I also felt like he was doing good in Benevento. He was just
Yeah,
unlucky because they're always losing 2-1, 1-0.
yeah.
And until Brunoli scored against Milan out of nowhere. Before that, I mean, I thought they played well with the resource he had in his hand. They
Oh
played
yeah.
well, but they were really unlucky. But this, I mean, now you can see, you also saw like how Berardi and Locatelli combined together for Italy, the
Yeah.
other game. Yeah, so
Yes.
this group is like really exciting. Berardi, Caputo, Locatelli, they're like really exciting, and then Jeremy Boga, they're a very exciting group. And so Sassuolo is one of the teams, I mean, to watch out. I mean, yes, maybe the first 15 games they will play really well, and they might lose their momentum at the end because they don't have the backup. Yeah, so but they can, they can be Atalanta of last year in this season. Yeah.
Well, exactly, and like you said, it's. I mean, when you're in a club like, not to say that Sassuolo's getting that much more money, but they are a little bit more of a well-established team. They have their own stadium.
Mm.
You know, it's a little bit different. So that's why you got to take these coaches' results with a grain of salt sometimes, and really look into how the team's actually playing instead of seeing results, because again, Benevento's not going to punch that much above their weight. It's really difficult.
Yeah.
They'll get the occasional games where they'll surprise, but they're really at a lower tier level in terms of budget and what players they can
Yeah.
bring in. So I agree. De Zerbi's done a phenomenal job. And that kind of wraps up the news kind of segment. And I just wanted to mention, as you talked about the international break, it's been crazy for me, guys. And I don't know if this podcast will come out first or not. We'll have to see. I'll definitely have it all completed by tonight, and I'm hoping to get it as soon as possible. But there are a couple podcasts in between that I've had difficulties. I just wanted to let you guys know why certain things have been taking longer. Maybe that was me trying to bite too much off that I can chew, but there were supposed to be a lot more podcasts coming out this week. I had incredible problems with this damn laptop I have. I got to figure something out, but unfortunately enough, the guests that I've had on were kind enough to be able to, extend some of the problems that I've had and come back on and reshoot. So I appreciate all the making do with what I have and still showing up and still supporting. But again, that's kind of just the FYI of what's been going on that I didn't mention at the beginning of the show. If you've made it to this point, again, let me know. Drop it in the comments what you thought about the standings, what you've thought about us so far, some of the news stories. If you still haven't, please drop a like. So please subscribe. That would be unbelievable. And let's get into this game, Farhan. We'll look first at the lineups. Obviously, Pirlo going with the 4-4-2. Buffon and net, which I said was great to see. Danilo, De Ligt, Demiral, Cuadrado, as we kind of everyone had a pretty clear picture of that's what it was going to. The midfield a little bit different. I'm sure a lot of us thought that Rabiot and Artur were going to start, but we didn't know essentially what the winger was. Chiesa going to come in? Was Kulusevski going to come in? Bernardeschi? And obviously with the confidence that everyone's really seen with the national team, it seemed like Bernardeschi was going to slot his way in.
Yeah.
Now, the way they had put on, well, at least on the zone, the way they announced the formation, they had Kulusevski on the left and Bernardeschi on the right, which was clearly the opposite. While when we get into the game, they were on opposite sides. Obviously, Ronaldo and Morata up top. But I thought a pretty standard lineup. I didn't mind what I saw. I still want to kind of go to this 4-3-3, but again, we'll talk about that if that ever happens. But I wasn't no real major surprises. Obviously, Dybala has a couple things still going on. We'll get into that when we get into Pirlo's comments, but nothing really surprising about the lineup. Would you say?
I mean, except Rabiot, no. I mean, yeah, except Rabiot, everything was quite normal. Yeah.
So you didn't think he was
Um,
going to get the start, or did you think injuries were going to be a problem? Or I guess that was a talking point that.
I mean, I thought Rabiot is going to start, but I mean, like yesterday's game, it was against Cagliari, so okay, maybe it's okay, but we can't. I don't think we can afford to have Chiesa, Bernardeschi, and Kulusevski all together, in the middle
Yeah.
against a good team because there is not enough defensive power
Right.
in this thing. So against Cagliari, it's okay, yes, but I think against other teams, I think we need Rabiot because Rabiot is more energetic and he runs quite a lot. Arthur is not as energetic as Rabiot, so Arthur is doing good job, yes, but I think we need someone like Rabiot, and which is making me a bit disappointed is two of the players who did really good for Sari's team were Dybala and Bentancur. But for some reason, Bentancur is not clicking this season, and neither is Dybala, which is a bit concerning. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, with Dybala, I think there's lots of issues we can
yeah,
get into that a little
yeah,
bit. I think Bentancur, it's just been tough. We have a lot of midfielders, right? That
yeah,
we got to give playing time, and I think everyone and their mother knows that he was kind of going a little bit declining at the end of the restart. He was really well at the start, and then it kind of just petered off towards the end where Rabiot was on the opposite end. He was kind of bad to start, and then was on uh, the incline towards the end of last season. So we got to wait and see. Ramsey again not being there adds a couple problems. We're gonna have to see these guys come in now without having him, and it just we use the depth properly. I think we have depth now more than we ever did, and I think we can trust a lot of these players. So even though you might not trust Bentancur to start, I still think he gives you a lot off the bench.
yeah,
Same with McKennie, same with whoever, right? Whatever we have, whatever way we have to line it up. We'll get into Cagliari starting 11, 4-2-3-1. Cranio in goal, Pisacane, Klavan, Wulukovic, and Zappa on the right as the right back. Rog Marin is your holding. Tripadelli, who I thought did a phenomenal job on Quadrado, but we'll get into that in a couple minutes. João Pedro and Unas as your top three, and then Simeone is your lone striker up top. So pretty straightforward. Couple of little match stats. I don't like to get too much into it, but I do like to mention what we were talking about earlier. 66% possession for us, 34 for Cagliari, 23 shots on goal for Juve. On target 6, but 23 shots. So definitely we weren't worse for wear in terms of creating chances. 4 shots only for Cagliari, 0 on goal for the entire 90 minutes. So although they did make a push in the second half, which I thought
yeah,
we shouldn't have given
yeah.
them,
We
but
are allowing them. Yeah,
definitely no shots on target. 745 total passes with a 91.4% pass rate, which was really nice to see. Kaididi only putting out 382 with 83.2% accuracy, so a big drop in terms of But again, we had 2/3 of the ball.
oh yeah, exactly.
So really, you look at it that way. There's that reason why. But let's get into kind of the game. I thought Quadrado getting the can, and well, I want to get your thoughts on this. I know there's been a lot of talk about the captaincy as well. What does it really even mean to be a captain, in your opinion? I mean, you got Buffon on the wall there. You got Ronaldo, who's been a really big leader for us. What
Uh,
is this what is this band even meaning anymore, right? Like Juve's now in this system of caps and appearances, and uh, from when I've played sports to now, either if it's who's got to talk to the referee, who's the leader in the dressing room, you know, sometimes who's your best player, that could be, skewed. Caps, I I understand why they use it as a bar, because you'd think, okay, someone who's been capped the most for the club obviously has been kept there for a reason, right? Like you don't have 1,000 caps for a club and you're not that important of a player. It just usually doesn't work out that way. So I understand why they have the rule, but when you get down to, okay, Chiellini being out, Dybala's on the bench, Bonucci's hurt, Buffon apparently doesn't want the captain's armband. It comes down to getting into these situations. So what are your thoughts, Farhan? I mean, I don't know. I don't think Cuadrado should have had the armband, and it showed in the first like 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, he was not being able to dribble anything. He wasn't able to give passes. It feels like he had an extra pressure on his shoulder.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, another thing is, yes, I agree that Ronaldo might. I mean, Ronaldo is fitting to be the captain of our team, but the problem is like, I think he's not as good in Italian as the other guys.
Right.
So in terms of having any discussion with the referees, because it's mainly the captain who goes to talk with the referees, so he can't explain his things.
Yeah.
So that is another case. So it was like, I don't agree with Cuadrado as well, because he doesn't have this capacity or anything.
Yeah, and it's not the guy you look to when the situation, moving the players forward, being vocal. But I mean, it is what it is. The rule is the rule, and they can keep it if they want. I thought at the beginning Morata was doing a pretty good job. Towards the end of the half, though, he looked gassed. It just seemed like he's been playing way too much, with the Spanish national team
as well.
with us. It's been a lot of minutes, so I think it was, and a lot of people were criticizing, and I was just like, it makes sense why he's had this little bit of a let off, but I still thought he was pretty good in being that kind of serviceman that Ronaldo needs. It wasn't horrible, but it definitely wasn't great either. But again, there was lots of different opportunities. What I didn't like though initially, and this is why I praise Kulusevski so much in this game, was because until he started to move the ball from the right side into the middle and actually, start some different movements, different build-up play, 1-2s, we were doing the same thing. And I don't know if you saw my tweet, but I was like, for the first 10 minutes, it was like a Allegri ball. Go down, pass it to the wing, cross it into nothing, go down the left side, cross it, horrible cross in. It was just like, is this how we're actually started? And then I'm like, oh, well, here comes one of those typical games after the international break where we're not looking good. No one's like kind of in it. Their minds are all kind of discombobulated. No one's really thinking. And I'm like, oh, here we go again. But then this kid just is like, gets it. And instead of him thinking, okay, let's try and run it down the sides, he's bringing the ball back in and mixing it up with Ronaldo, mixing it up with Morata, even Bernardeschi. And I was like, wow, this is actually really nice to see. So I know that kind of died down towards the end of the game. Obviously, having a 2-goal lead helps. But it was really great to see. So I was very impressed with that. We had a couple moments where Cuadrado was also going down, making some mistakes, losing the ball, giving the ball away twice. CR7 went down too easily. I don't know if he was trying to learn from Cuadrado in the box. He tried to get a penalty there, which I thought was not even close. What else do we got here? Yeah, we had a lot of good chances. Like you said, he could have had a hat trick. I think there's also, a lot of other guys that could have had a hat trick as well. We had Kulusevski with a lot of chances. We had the Bernardeschi goal that was disallowed in the first half.
Morata offside, obviously.
And the only thing I think of was, well, shit, Bernardeschi was offside. I'm like, no, not.
Yeah. I was like, it doesn't look like offside, but it's Morata.
And then they show the replay, and I'm like, oh, this guy is just gonna get pegged for this. This is gonna be the delict handball of this year.
Yeah.
But joking aside, yeah, it was pretty nice to see him get back and actually. And I mean, I don't know me personally, I don't know if this bodes well to say he's going to stay in the future, but I think this is good for us because now we can get a little bit more value if we do decide to let him go. I don't know if
Yeah,
he's like we've got a lot of guys that are younger. I still think, and me personally, I still think you get rid of the guy to make room for, let's say, a midfielder or fullbacks. Like
fullback,
that's
fullback.
still
Yes,
that still needs that we have, and someone's got to go. Some people are talking Ramsey. I mean, if Bernardeschi picks up and we can get a decent fee, I think you got to look at it, right? Even
yeah,
even if he does start playing better, that's not something I don't think that we need. We need his position. We got a lot of depth at that position. Um, Delict was making a lot of great tackles. What I didn't like though, which is again more, we'll get into this. Well, we'll just say in the second half, a lot of sloppy back passes from everybody, not just the two defenders. But I think we got to clean that up a little bit. Was kind of a lot of the reason why they were even having any of the chances, and they were really able to press us in the second. But before that, Kulusevski had a perfect chance. 28th was just wide. I thought he was going to bury it there. But when we get into the 38th minute, we have Morata putting the ball over to Ronaldo on that left-hand side, as he usually is. And he brings it in. And I was getting worried because it seems like he's getting a little too... I find that, and everyone's going to think I'm hating on the guy. It's not hating on the guy. I find that he takes a little bit too long sometimes on the ball. So I thought that's what was going to happen. But then what he did is he cut in, he faked, he put one fake in, and then he blasted the ball into the right corner. And what a goal. Unbelievable. 1-0. And that was great to see. But like I said, I do see a little bit of hesitation. What I also did see, and we'll get into a comment from Nilesh later, is a little bit being not selfish enough in this game.
yes. I also wanted. I also saw the comment, and I also will get to it. Yeah, when would you? Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But that's what I saw him not taking. When you're a striker, okay, or even a soccer player in general, football player, calciatore in general, you got to make the right decisions, right? There's times to be selfish. There's times to not be selfish. There's times to give the ball to someone who's open, and there's not. And that's the fine line between scoring and not scoring. So I found that there was a lot of moments. I don't know if it just, in his head, he was thinking, wow, let's try and get Bernardeschi's confidence up. Let's get Kulusevski's confidence up by giving them the ball. I just thought there was opportunities where we could have put this game way out of reach, that if they wanted to, then they can go and score their goals, because Cagliari doesn't really think they have really no chance that they're in it. So we get into the 42nd minute, which is 4 minutes later, on a corner. Quadrado swings the ball in, and at first I thought it was off the head, but it was more of kind of like a deflection where it hits Demiral's head and then kind of goes a little bit off kind of his back. And I don't know I don't know if they were admiring Quadrado's shiny armband or what, but they left Ronaldo completely wide open, back post. Could not believe that was even allowed, but it was. And then again, a perfect strike where the ball's not necessarily in front of him, so he still kind of has to reach back and still give it that flick to put the ball in the net. So it wasn't an easy goal. I thought it was a pretty great goal.
Yeah.
And 2-0 right there in the first half. Again, like I said, could have been 3, 4, 5 maybe. But what were your thoughts overall in the first half, and what you saw, what you liked, what you didn't like, Farhan?
At the first half, I think we started a bit slow, and like I said, Cuadrado, I don't know what was happening with him. He was losing the ball a lot at the first few minutes, but then I think we settled down well. And yeah, as you said, yeah, sometimes Ronaldo keeps the ball with him a bit too long, and which when he cuts in, I mean, like 1 out of 10 times, it's good. Like which happened yesterday. But other times, generally, he either loses the ball or hits the feet, and sometimes you get a corner, sometimes you don't. So yesterday, this was a really good goal, but yeah, I think he should have let the ball flow a bit faster than usual, and yeah, we should have. Yeah, 2-0 at first half was good. I was hoping maybe we'll see more goals in the second half, which we didn't, unfortunately. But I think the first half was pretty solid. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think a lot of fans noticed it as well as the kind of it was not like a somber like usual first half where everyone's kind of down and pissed off. So it was actually quite nice to see. And but again, it's not like a huge criticism. I just find that there's chances where like I said, we could have buried at least 3 or 4, and then it's a completely different creates a completely different situation. Whereas when you leave it at 2, like I said, we'll get it when we get into the second half. We'll talk about what had happened, the situation where they're pushing. I would say from the 45th, from the 45th to the 51st minute, we were pretty much sitting back. And that's just the way it was. So you're going to give teams the opportunity. Sotil obviously came on for Tripadelli, and I think Tripadelli basically ended Guadrado's career because he literally was just doing wonders down that wing and just stopping them and making them make errors. We did get a little yellow card excited with Danilo and then Artur back-to-back yellows. So we got to be careful. We got to be smarter than that. Thankfully, that didn't bite us in the ass in this game because I know they didn't get subbed till later on, but Pirlo's got to be a little bit more mindful for that. And Artur, I thought, like I said before, I thought he did a really good job being able to hold the ball, being able to control the ball, making the right passes. Something that we really missed with Pjanic. At least towards the end of the stint
last
with
2
Juve.
seasons,
And yeah, it was really nice to see that develop because I know a lot of fans were still unsure with Artur. Is he going to be the right guy or not? Is he going to be the right person to be this kind of regista type player? But I think it's worked, and I really hope we can succeed. And this is just going to build with more confidence in the midfield. And I know a lot of people. I've kind of put out a couple things on let's really look to make sure. I know Locatelli's been on a great run, but let's really weigh our options, how much money we have to spend, because this midfield is producing, I would say, fairly well. Let's see what happens in these next 3-4 games. But if we see 3-4 really good games come out, maybe minor adjustments in the midfield. But like I said, I think we got to shore up the fullback, or at least put Danilo, because we didn't see that in the substitution. So we get kind of mid-second half. I can't remember what minute it was exactly. But again, Cagliari's pressing off I want to say, was it a corner or a set piece? But I believe it was a corner. Ronaldo with this insanely horrid back heel. I don't know what you want to call it. A perfect opportunity for Cagliari. And obviously they hit it into the back of the net, but and I believe it was an offside off of that one.
Offside, correct?
Yeah. So again, bad mistake. We were saved by the offside, but that could have opened up the game.
Yeah.
And that's what you don't want. Like 2-0 lead is the worst lead in hockey, they say. Okay. You do not want, like, sitting on a 2-goal lead is the worst. And because it only takes one to open it up, and then bang, they got another in your tie game right there. So you're not doing yourselves any favor by sitting back. And that's what I really didn't like in the second half. I thought, even though we still had a lot of chances to convert. But not doing that and then sitting back and allowing Cagliari enough time is a recipe for disaster. So hopefully we can improve that in the next few games. Just to look at the subs, so we get McKennie coming on for Rabiot initially, 69th, as well as Dybala going on for Morata. And like I said, Morata seemed like he was gassed. It was good to see him come off. But
Yeah.
it didn't seem like Juve was still pushing at about 20 minutes to go till time. I don't know what it is. I don't know why we're getting our Mezzala or our midfielders to make runs and Dybala coming back to get the ball for them. I don't know if you've noticed this, Farhan. Kind of give your thoughts on the way Dybala played in this game. To me, it doesn't make any sense. Like, it's not, you want to put players in their best position or their best chance to make a difference. And it was literally just like, come back to the mid, come back really low, pick up the ball, come back low, pick up the ball, or going out wide on the right-hand side. So, I don't know. What are your thoughts? Am I overthinking this? Am I wrong? I don't know. You tell me.
I mean, what I see in Dybala nowadays is more like, he really wants to prove himself, and he
Yeah.
is not actually focused, which is not good to see. And yes, he was. He was on the right side a lot yesterday,
Yeah.
and yeah, we know that. I mean, the thing is, like, he plays in such a position. I mean, it's very difficult to make the formation based on
Right.
him, because I mean he doesn't do well when he's giving winger position. Yeah, so it's quite difficult. And yes, at the end he needed to come down as well, but most of the time he was on the right side of the for attack. So I really hope, like, what we are seeing, that maybe in the next UCL game he will be playing, and I
Yeah.
hope, like, he plays and gets a few goals, 1 or 2 goals, because he needs the confidence boost, and Morata needs rest as well. So
Yeah.
it would serve well. And yeah, I mean, the thing is, like I said, he's the best player of Serie A from last season. So the season he is having so far this season is definitely, like, not what is expected.
Yeah. And I definitely agree. He hasn't been up to par. I mean, apparently he's still going through some. And I mean, okay, you could say that's bullshit. Pirlo's bullshitting or not, but I think he's still going through some viral, like he's still on some antibiotics. But I think the problem lies in the coach. And the reason why is because we've seen now two managers in Allegri and Pirlo that just seem to they can't put it together. I mean, I know it's with Pirlo, it's early. I'm not saying that
Yeah.
it's over and done with, but you look at how, and the reason why I mentioned the coming back is because some people say, "Oh, well, he's doing that on his own." And again, I don't think you can criticize Dybala in this game. We're up 2-0. Okay, so there's no need in saying anything than what it was, right? Like it's a 2-0 game. Um, and I made the joke a few times if Cagliari scored, it was Dybala's fault, even though that was before he came on, I believe. And um, if Juve make a mistake, it's Dybala's fault. I'm probably gonna have to make a T-shirt for that. But why always me? Like a kind of an alla Balotelli. But I just noticed, like, it happens every game. So it's like, okay, if it was kind of erratic and he's, going to different spots, and you could see, okay, you could probably say that's on the player, but it just seems like he's being asked to go into this position that makes no sense in my mind for him to be playing. And that's just the way I see it. But I don't know. There's lots. I agree with you. I hope he does come on, and I hope he does score some goals, because he does need a confidence boost. I think anyone can see that. Let's get into 3 up, 3 down. Basically, your 3 worst, your 3 best. But to give you an example, we'll go my 3 worst. I thought Quadrado number 1 on the list. Morata, I thought, not to say that he played bad, but he was fatigued. And I don't think it was his best effort out there. Even though We did have a lot of chances, but I don't think he was, up to snuff. The offside again, that's gonna eat up at me. And someone who I didn't really hear a lot of, and I don't know, maybe that's he's coming off of that injury, but Rabiot I thought was very quiet. Now maybe that's a good thing, maybe that's not so bad, but those are my three players that are three down. Again, I thought Dybala, not enough sample size to put him in. That's the reason why I didn't. 20 minutes or less, if you want to say. Not really big enough to be saying an impact. If he played for 70 minutes that whole way, then I could say, okay, I can understand he's on the down list, but I don't think it was a big enough sample size. What about you, Farhan? Who's your three kind of, again, it doesn't need to be the three worst, but I'm that weren't up to standard is what I'm trying to make out in this segment.
Well, I have one, which is Cuadrado.
Okay.
And the other two, I mean, like, yeah, yesterday Morata was a bit in the shadows, but it's understandable because he just came from, like, international duties. So it's understandable. And the other one is like, again, like I said, I don't want to, like you mentioned, the other one is Dybala. Because, I mean, the thing is, he had an opportunity. He had an opportunity to score, but he, like, skyrocketed. Yeah, and another case, he probably should have, like, let the ball go a bit early, but he went too far, and then the cross wasn't that good. So
yeah.
I
definitely cursed that one out on Twitter.
Yeah,
when he skied down.
The main one is Cuadrado. The other two are, like, because Dybala didn't get enough chance and enough time, but he had his chance, but he didn't get enough time. And 20 minutes is too less of a time to judge. And Morata is understandable, so it's okay. But main one is Cuadrado from yesterday's game. Yeah.
And how about your best? I think it's pretty tough. Like, I know stats wise, you're probably going to say Ronaldo, and I still would pick Ronaldo as your man of the match. But I still think Artur has a lot to say in that game. Just the way he played, I think he brought a different dynamic for us. He was able, and again, if Kulusevski decides to not do the things he did in terms of bringing the ball into the center, I think this game is completely different. I think we don't have as many chances as we do. I think we don't have enough, like, even clear cut. Like I said, he's had a few chances where he could have scored. Same with Bernardeschi. But I think those two could easily been in the conversation, and those are going to be my top three. But yeah, I definitely think it wasn't as easy as clear cut as saying Ronaldo top. Yes, he did have some phenomenal goals, and again, I'm still going to give him the man of the match, but I still think those two played a huge role and then you could even say the defense as well, being solid, not letting any goals in. I haven't even mentioned them. But I thought those three were kind of the standouts for me.
Okay, so for me, it's Ronaldo, Arthur, and De Ligt. So the reason that Bernardeschi is not in there because, like, he had a chance to score a goal, and so did Kulusevski. Both of them had the chance of scoring, but they didn't. So that's why they are not in there. So it will be Ronaldo, Arthur, and De Ligt. Yeah.
Let's get into. Let me just check my. I forgot to write this down, which I should have. But we have our. Where is it? Here we go. Man of the match. Obviously, I posted this on Instagram and I had posted this on Twitter. Ronaldo's getting about 75% on Instagram to Arthur's 25%. And just to go check the finalized stats so we can have some, interaction with you fans. And thank you if you did vote on either Instagram or on Twitter.
Yeah, Ronaldo.
We got Ronaldo as well at 54. Artur 23, Kulusevski 23, 61 votes. There's about an hour and 47 left, but I think that's pretty decisive as the U.S. election. I think we can call that. We can call those early. But yeah, guys, thank you for participating. And I think we're going to be doing a lot more of that, trying to get more audience involvement, whether that be directly if I can ever figure out how to do a live show, or just during the games. I thought it was really fun to talk to you guys, and I was definitely a lot more involved, I think, during that game. Usually I don't like to, because to stay focused, to be able to put these together after, but as well, to see everything going on, the movements, the individual plays and stuff like that. So it's tougher when you keep looking at your phone. But it was definitely fun this game, I'll have to admit. Let's get into obviously the post-match comments. um, Pirlo mentioned some crucial things, obviously. Some more, you know typical coach sayings or statements, but some key insights, like I said, to the Dybala. And obviously, when he's fully fit, he's going to play more in his role. He's been on antibiotics for the last 10 days due to an old virus, but he did come on well today with a bit more strength. So we'll have to see how that plays out. Um, Obviously, there's plenty of quality in the squad, but that is not enough in order to dominate the game. You have to move the ball rapidly from side to side. He needed time. Or obviously, speaking of Artur, he's player we expected. He came from La Liga, which was a total different approach, above all, to training more than playing. He needed time to settle in. He has a guarantee on the ball and finds the right solution to escape when the opposition presses. And I think he did very well to know where the other team is, when they're on his back, which way to go, who's available, and then to distribute. I thought that was very well done during the game from Artur. He's also commented on some of the players and also the international break. It's always tough to focus, but we did maintain the right spirit. We got many players in this who can change the game by going on the counter, although there needs to be a balance. And again, this is my constant pet peeve with the squad. Again, like you said, we're only playing Cagliari. This is not one of the best teams out there. This is, maybe middle of the pack, lower middle of the pack, if you want to call it that. When we get up against a good team, which it doesn't seem like, maybe Barcelona is going to be our toughest test, and including Atalanta towards the end of the year. But and maybe the derby could maybe be a little bit more interesting than what the stat. I mean, obviously, Torino collapsed today, which was embarrassing. But
I mean, I saw like it's 2-0 Torino, and people are saying in Twitter, yeah, I was like, okay. And then I saw 2-2, I was like, oh, come on. And then the moment I said, okay, maybe I can give the match a watch.
Yeah.
The moment I started watching the game, they got up and oh, come on.
You jinxed it.
I jinxed it. Yeah. Like, oh shit, I'm closing down everything again. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, again, we gotta shore this up. I find our fullbacks, and it was nice to see Alexander back. I really hope he comes and makes a difference. I really do. He's my guy, so I'm backing him wholeheartedly. But I hope, seeing that Danilo was the direct substitution with Alexandro at the end there. Obviously, Artur came out for Bentancur. And who was that last sub? I think there was one more that I missed. McKennie. No, did I say McKennie? Chiesa came on for a little bit. Again, not really noticeable. It was only for a few minutes, so it's not like we got to see a massive sample size. But I really wish that we could have just. I know he's been useful as a CB, but I really would like to have seen Danilo go right back and Alexandro stay on the left-hand side. It just gives us that surety at the back, because I find that Cuadrado gets way too lost up top, and then he just doesn't know when to come back, or he gets too excited and he's up there and the play doesn't advance that far, and then we're kind of in the negative number situation. Same with our midfielders as well. I think they get too involved, and that's why I mentioned the Dybala situation, where they move forward, and it's like you have Artur plus your center backs, and it's like, what are you going to do? 4-on-3, 5-on-3 sometimes. So that's something we definitely need to figure out. I don't know what your thoughts are on this positioning, Farhan.
Yeah, I mean, I think Cuadrado has done his duty. Yeah, but like once Sandro, if Sandro settles this again, then Danilo should be in the right hand side. Yeah, and the thing is like before today I was watching the highlights of yesterday's game again on YouTube because if to see like if I missed anything or anything.
Yeah.
And then one of the suggested video which came was the win against Marda 2-3 from 2017-18 season.
Yep.
So I remember the goal which the Barzali own goal when Perisic was moving in and like Cuadrado and Perisic, they both fell down and Cuadrado was like chillaxing like this on the ground. Perisic taking the ball away. So like, okay, yeah, maybe he's like too much chillaxing sometimes.
Yeah, it's just it's tough. Like I get they want to be, again, when you have this attacking brand that you want to bring forward, sure, you're going to be a little bit less defensive, or you're going to be open a little bit more, which is fine. But I find that we're way too open for what we need to be, and I find that teams like, well, look at what happened when we played Barcelona. They really dismantled us. So.
And the game against Roma, the second goal
Exactly.
considered, like it was like we had only one defender and 3 of Roma players when they were on counter. So this is like something which we shouldn't be looking forward to.
Yeah, and then again, you already mentioned it though with De Ligt's press conference, and again, I was really impressed with his Italian as well as what he said. He talked about last year wanting to press high, but with Pirlo, we play a more modern football. He says we defend one against one, leaving a lot of space behind us, and he likes that because it is similar to the way they played at Ajax. So that was nice to hear, and I think again, go check out that interview if you haven't so far. It is definitely, and again, there's a lot of translation, whether that be Bianconeri's own Forza Juventus around Turin, or the newly reunited Juve FC, finally getting access to that. And thank you, Robbie, I appreciate it. And congratulations again on getting the role. But in the next game against Ferencváros, obviously going to be match day 4. We have a win. We qualified to the knockout stage with 2 games in advance, which is pretty big. That also doesn't mean, though, that there isn't anything to play for. We could still get top of the group. But again, squad rotation, do you see that being useful, or do you want to see a consistency in the squad where we keep playing the same kind of formation, same kind of role for certain players that are on form? What are your thoughts about that?
I think we should rotate the squad because, because we are gonna go through this group, yes, definitely. And but with all the respect to the other, to Kiev and the Hungarian team, I keep forgetting his name. Yeah. So with all the respect, I think we should rotate the squad because not only for confidence, yes, but also because this season league is gonna be like pretty tight.
Right.
So the players also get the rest they deserve. So I think it should be rotated a little bit because we have the options now. Because we have the options in the midfield, we have the options, yes, and in attack as well. Because Chiesa, yes, he's playing as a wing back now, but he can play as a winger as well. And so does Kulusevski. So, and of course Bernardeschi as well. So we have the options. So I think we can rotate for the UCL the 2 games we have on UCL before Barcelona, and we can focus more on the group, on the league, because
for sure
it's gonna be because I was also checking the game, and yes, Milan scored against Napoli. And
there you go.
Ibrahimovic again. I mean, like,
yeah, they're gonna go back and forth now. Ronaldo and Ibra.
Ibrahim, and what's up with all the 30+ players racing for the Cup Cagliari? Because 14-15 it was Luca Toni.
Yeah.
And Luca Toni, and then 15-16 it was Higuain. Then 16-17 who won it? I forgot.
The only thing I could say with that is I think as Serie has always been a little bit more of it's been a league a little bit more for the intellectual, not the just typical like kick and run English football.
It's not run.
So it's not like a heavy run. It's more of like positionally how we can take advantage. So you have these players that have been playing on such a high level for so long that their football or their calcio IQ is just above.
Yeah, they know where the
So
ball is
they
gonna
know where
bounce.
the
Yeah,
ball's going to go. They know what situations to get into. You look at, like you said, the goal with Ronaldo. He sneaks kind of in the back door there and kind of, gets the foot on it.
yeah,
I mean, again, that's a strike. That's just intelligence of a striker. You look at him, obviously, outside the box where he kind of feints, pushes the ball to the right a little bit and buries it on the right side. I haven't seen the goal from Ibrahimovic. So it could have been like a tap in for all we know. But again, it's just that
I mean,
IQ, the defense is a lot. Again, the defenses that we come up against are a lot more tighter. They're a lot more intelligent. They press a lot harder. So as a striker, you have to kind of think a lot more to get there. And again, I think that's the benefit to these players that have again, Ronaldo and Ibrahimovic are not your average players
yeah,
either,
West
right?
players,
So
yeah. And the thing is, like I mentioned, look at Tony. He was maybe 35 at the time or something. Yeah, but it's not like he scores amazing goals.
right.
He's the person, like, he knows how to put the ball in, or
Yeah,
even one of the best strikers in the whole world. Inzaghi. It's not like he scores
exactly.
like really good goals.
Oh yeah,
He
exactly.
doesn't dribble faster, but he knows how to find the net, back of the net. Yeah,
Exactly.
he's offside a lot, yeah, but he knows how to find the back of the net, yeah.
Yeah, that's
So,
what
yeah.
Morata is, the Spanish Inzaghi. That's what everyone's been saying on Twitter. It's funny, but yeah, no, it's good to see. I mean, hey, it's good for us at least. I mean,
Yeah.
you have a player that's going to be, but like I said, we do need to work on that consistency. We do have to have more contribution from the team because, again, we can get into some situations in the future. Let's get into question time. Second last segment. And again, we're gonna have the preview of the Ferencváros game, hopefully coming up in the next couple days. So stay tuned for that. We're gonna get into detailed match details, possible formations, and again, another great Juve fans' opinion on what they've seen so far. First question, obviously from Louis DeVito. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. Always contributing. And he says, how does Juventus fix the dropping off in the second half problem that has plagued us for years? And yes, it definitely has plagued us for years, bud. So what are your thoughts, Farhan?
I mean, I often use this term like we are the best slash worst one half 45 minutes team in the world, because so many times we play so well for the first 45 minutes and second 45 minutes we fade away, or we are like awful in the first half
And then
and really
better.
good in the second half. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's been going for like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years now,
Yeah, and
and
it would have been nice. That's why when I've been consistently hitting on this theme. It would have been nice to have like a 3-4-0 lead at half. So then if you do want to like sit back, okay, it's
okay.
understandable. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of out of reach. I mean, sure, we have seen comebacks that have
Yeah.
happened like that, but a 3-4 goal lead is a pretty especially with what you're. I know they have João Pedro, I know they have Simeone, but it's definitely pretty difficult, especially when you have Delict and Demiral in the back. So
Yeah.
it's that would have been nice. But again, second half, yeah, it's been so we definitely need to come out with that intensity.
And it's not like we didn't have the opportunity in second half. We had the chances
Yeah.
in second half, but we should have like converted or finished like the thing happened with Lazio as well. We had the opportunity from some
Oh,
of the
exactly.
counters. I mean, Kulusevski was really good with the counters. Yeah. So, and
That
but we didn't convert. And at the end, I had this, like in the back of my mind, like with Caicedo, because he did it against Inter Milan, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Apparently, he's been doing it a
Yeah.
bunch of times.
And then he did it in the Champions League as well. And I had
Yeah,
this in my head, like,
he's gonna do it
uh,
again.
yeah, oh, come on. And then I was like, oh, come on. I keep on jinxing things first. So
I was gonna say, is your second account Napoleonismo or what? Because he's got all the jinxes apparently. But yeah, no, I don't know. That's why I was surprised everyone was looking at. I don't know why. I mean, I guess people needed to look at something to get mad at, but I mean, a player kicking a ball out of bounds like Dybala, and even today, I don't know or yesterday, excuse me, I don't know if you were on Roman's live stream at the he does his ratings, and I want to say a good heartfelt congratulations for hitting 1,000 subscribers. There's not too many people I would wish to have the being able to achieve that. There's a lot of hard workers that I do believe still need to get there. But congratulations, Roman, on getting 1,000 subs. But anyways, on his kind of after game, post game kind of player ratings, as well as talking about the game with fans, there's a lot of fans in the comments just getting on Dybala again for no reason. So like you mentioned with Caicedo, he was on. It was kind of almost destined to happen, but we can't be putting up these chances. We can't be allowing teams to go through us. Defensively, we have to be better, and again, offensively, we have to be more clinical. I think we put it. If we can put those two together, and like I said, the best or worst 45 minutes. I love that. That's awesome. I'm going to hold on to that one. But again, thank you, Louis, for the question. But now we move on to Nilesh, who's been, a very great friend of mine.
Yeah.
And he talks about the Ferencváros game. So Pirlo said in the press conference, and kind of we've left this now. We've talked about it a little bit, but he said in the press conference that the team needs to be more selfless. He said it because Cristiano took a shot in the match when Morata was clearly, and it's happened quite a bit in this season so far. In this match, the team was way too selfless. And what are your thoughts? So I think we've talked about it a little bit, but again, if you want to reiterate what you think, Farhan.
Yeah, I thought also sometimes there was one time when Ronaldo could have taken the shot, but he gave the ball to Kulusevski, and the most evident one was when he dummied and for Bernardeschi, and if it was a goal, it would have been great, but since it's not, so we are talking about it,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
But he could have taken the shot. He could have taken it. It was in his zone. So
I get beat up for this over online, and people were thinking they're taking it personal that I was saying when he was missing chances. And again, you pay a striker to score goals. Now, Ronaldo's not getting paid to be the psychologist on the team. Yeah. He's getting paid to score goals. So if this is and the only reason I bring this up is because if it's against the Barcelona, if it's against the Milan, if it's against the Napoli, Lazio, whoever, and we need these goals, let's say it's at 0-0, right?
Yeah.
We don't get to see those goals that happen that's what you're looking for to come through. So if I were to see that against Lazio and it's like a 0-0 game, like I'm going to be pissed off. Like, what the hell are we doing? You know what I mean? Like, that could have been an easy goal that we scored, and we give it to Bernardeschi. He had he had some really good chances as well. But again, that is the fine line of winning and losing games by taking those chances. Yeah. So again, that's the only reason why I bring it up. It's not to hate. It's not to say he can't score. It's not to say he's not a leader, which I think a lot of Ronaldo fans get way too obsessed about. And really, when it comes down to is just being able to put games out of reach. So I don't know. I think as a club, we need to come down and say, hey, we can't rely too much on Ronaldo. Don't look at these. You don't need to be given chances when they're not warranted. If there's a guy open, give him the ball. But in those opportunities, especially that close to goal, you gotta take those shots. Like,
does Ronaldo have any hat-trick in Serie A for us or no?
Yeah, against Cagliari. Actually, that was the funny thing. Yeah, that was the funny thing is that everyone's like, "Yeah, I want to get another." I believe it was last year he had the hat trick against Cagliari, unless I'm totally wrong. But I'm pretty sure it was because they kept mentioning it like about 5 times during the broadcast, and I'm just like, he could have had like 6, and we're talking about 3. But it's like, okay, but yeah, no, that's that would have been nice. Again, the Ronaldo fans would have been wilding if that was the case. So maybe it was good that he didn't get the 3 goals, or we would have been hearing it for the next 16 years. But they would have held it over our heads.
It's not only that. I mean, the anti-Ronaldo fans would have been talking as well, because many Ronaldo fans make the joke of Messi against Eibar. So it will be like Ronaldo against Cagliari. So you'll have this battle between them going on.
True enough. Yeah, no, it's just too much. It's too much with these fans. But that leads us into our last kind of segment. Obviously, talking about
Okay.
memories, talking about great moments. Obviously, like you said, you're a massive Buffon fan, so maybe we'll be hearing a story about Buffon. But I leave the floor to you. Either a
Okay.
memorable Juve moment, maybe sometime you've gone to the stadium, maybe sometime you've met some Juve fans, met some other
Uh,
fans. I don't know. You let us know, Farhan.
I'm gonna show you something about Buffon in this
Yeah, go
podcast, if
ahead.
it's
Go
okay.
ahead,
Yeah, yeah,
boss.
yeah. So yeah, so I like drawing cartoons or something. So this is what I did for Buffon. Yeah.
Oh,
So
I've
it
seen
took
that
me.
before.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
beautiful,
yeah,
man.
yeah. It took me like 8 days, but totally worth it. And yeah, so no, I didn't have the opportunity to go to a stadium because from Bangladesh it's not possible for me to come to all the way to Italy to go there. But I had the plan of attending one game at least this year because I said okay, maybe Buffon will not play the game, but I will see him in the dugout.
Yeah.
But then fucking Corona, yeah. So no,
That's
yeah,
all, man. I've heard
yeah.
that so many times, bro. But anyways, keep going. Let us
Yeah,
know any maybe a moment or so. I know that's unfortunate,
and
but
moment is like there are quite some. I mean, there are quite a lot. I mean, if you're talking about the most recent ones, then I'll mention the Dybala goal against Lazio, that one, because that was a really boring game. I mean, that was like super boring. And I remember the commentator saying Strakosha had one of the most easiest
yeah.
day in his career, football career, and then suddenly Dybala scored. Yeah, so that is one. The other one is against Inter, the 3-2 game. So it's because we are in a holiday, and in Cox's Bazar it's like it's the longest sandy beach in the world in Bangladesh. So we're in a holiday, so we're staying in the hotel. So my cousin and me were sharing the same room with two beds, and so he said, "No, I don't feel like watching the game." So he fell asleep. I was like, "Okay, so I'm watching the game, watching the game, watching the game," and I can't even shout because he's like sleeping. And then when Higuain scored, I got on the table, did a somersault on the bed, and he was like, "What happened?" He woke up and he's like, "What happened?" I'm like, "Go to sleep, go to sleep." So that is another. And the other one is the comeback against Atletico. That time also I was again in a holiday. I was in Munich, and I was staying with another cousin, and like he had his it was Farhan job. Uh, it was like semester break, so he normally he has a student job in
Yeah.
Infineon, but that time in semester break they allow you to do full time. So he used to do full time at the time. So also
Oh,
he
okay.
came and he was sleeping, and I was in his room. Now I can shout also because he has a job next day early in the morning as well, and I was like, okay, okay, this is very difficult to hang on to. And it was also funny in because I have a Dybala jersey, and I was wearing that. And it was also funny because I know one Bayern fan, and there are different football groups in Facebook. So
Yeah.
the jersey I won of Ronaldo, it was a fantasy game league in that group. So there's this Bayern when he was like always like every month he would like remind me, we're gonna sign Dybala, we're gonna sign Dybala, we're gonna sign Dybala. So what I did is I went to Allianz Stadium at night in front of Allianz Stadium. So it was like 2 degrees Celsius.
Yeah.
But I took off my jacket anyway with the Dybala jersey. I took a picture with Dybala on the back in front of the
You
Allianz
see.
Arena, and I was like, "Yeah, finally you signed him." I was like, "It's really cold, but totally worth it." Yeah.
Yeah, that's hilarious. I'm surprised Heath actually thought because it's been mostly like the Barcelona connection or the Real Madrid's also been talked about. Obviously, there was Tottenham that reached out in Man U. There's been some talks there as well, but yeah, that's hilarious, man. I know. Give us. Why don't you give us about maybe a Buffon like international? Because what just came to my head, I had obviously I've graduated from university. It's been now a while. Seems like yesterday, but a really good friend of mine is also from Bangladesh. So we worked on an internship together and up north in Canada, and it was funny because he would always talk to me about Bangladesh and how it was when he obviously his mom is still back home, but he would always say how important international football was. Like,
Yeah.
I don't believe he has a club. I don't. From what I remember, I don't believe he cheers for a club team, but he was an Argentina fan, and his mom was an Italian fan, and I'm just
Ah,
like, it was,
so
coming around the you look at it in the 80s and even in the 90s, right? With Maradona and with obviously now Messi, and then you have the Italian national team. Well, look at 82, and then there's been quite a few tournaments where in the early 80s where the Italian national team was phenomenal. So they would kind of go back and forth, and he would tell me all of these stories about just or in like uncles and aunts and just everyone
yeah,
arguing at the table because again it was such a big deal. Like these tournaments were such a big deal for fans in Bangladesh, which was fascinating to me. So if you got something with Buffon, that would be
yeah.
awesome. Kind
I
of
mean,
a
like
tip of the cap to my buddy Mo. I like to call him Mo, but his name's Mohammed. But anyways,
Mohammed. Yeah, I
shout out.
understand. So, I have a question. Like, is it allowed in? I mean, legally allowed in Canada to to have flags of other countries in on top of your rooftops or anything?
I would
In
say
Germany,
yes.
it's
I would
not.
say yes. I would say you can. Um, Again, if you live in an apartment, sometimes it gets a little bit tricky. If people complain, you got stuff on your deck and stuff like. But for the most part, you'll see Canadian flags. You'll see Italian
No,
flag.
other countries. No, other countries of other countries. It's
Oh yeah.
allowed.
Oh, it's not allowed.
No, yeah, that's the thing, yeah. But in Bangladesh, there is no rule about that. So during the World Cup, you're gonna
It's
see
just
like
crazy.
there's flags everywhere. There's buildings which are colored of different
Yeah,
the country they support for the World Cup.
it's
It's
awesome.
like everywhere. I mean, like you will see the flags which is going 400 meters or sometimes. It's as long as that. Okay, and yeah, so during the World Cup, it's like yeah, and you're gonna see it. There are there are different jersey shops. Obviously, they are not official, definitely not, but
Right.
there are jersey shops everywhere. And yeah, I remember one like we were at 80 rate at that time, so we had this football tournament. That was the time of 2006 World Cup. Yeah, that was the football. So I myself in international, I'm a plastic because I am Argentali fan, Argentina and Italy both. My mom, so is my mom because the TV they had in their house was in 82, and she saw Paolo Rossi
Yeah.
and and everyone. So she liked Italy for that, and then on 86 Maradona definitely. There is nothing else except Maradona during the 86 and 90 World
Yeah.
Cups. And my father, he likes Argentina and France, Maradona and Platini, So yeah,
There you go.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's crazy. It was such a crazy
and
like thing.
all of these players are from Serie A. Can you
Yeah.
imagine that era? Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah,
but
man.
club football, no one was watching club football then. But for me, in 1988, so 98 World Cup, the first football game I watched, Batista scored a hat trick against Jamaica, and for me, he looked like Jesus a little bit. So yeah, so
True, true.
that's why I like Argentina and Italy for the 2002 World Cup. I mean, it was a really good World Cup. Yeah,
Except for Italy.
unfortunately for yeah. So yeah, for that's why yeah, and that the story you were saying. So in 88 we had a football tournament in our school. So there was one goalkeeper who everyone knows from our team because he was staying in the student hostel, so they play regularly, and so it was supposed to be him playing the goal. But I said I also want to play as the goalkeeper, and then we had like okay, then we're gonna have a football game, and both of you will play. The best performer will win. So I made really good saves, so I got in the team. So in the final,
Nice.
yeah, so in the final, what happened is like I bought an Argentina jersey, so obviously from the streets, yeah. So I had that, and those electric tapes, of different colors, red or black, yellow.
Yeah, yeah.
So what I did, it's an Argentina jersey, and with an electric tape, I wrote Buffon one on the back. I was playing in the final, and yeah, so and it was a really good experience for me as well because whole tournament I considered only one goal. So that was like a
Sharp
really
at the
good.
back, yeah.
Yeah, that was really good. We also had supposed to have all the Bangladeshi guys were supposed to have a football tournament here in Dresden. We had a cricket one, but I don't like cricket. I was in the team, but I didn't play. But football tournament here we had, and I was hoping to wearing this one. But unfortunately, in November we have the lockdown in Germany, so it's not allowed.
Yeah, you guys are you guys are crazy about that. That's I got other story. I almost want to bring them on because like you guys go nuts over there, and then like in all of like if you want to call it from the West Indies, Australia, South Africa into like Southeast Asia, South Asia. Like I was some of the stories he told me, I was like, you guys are just like on another level, almost like it's calcio. And I've watched a few times because he showed me some highlights and stuff like that. And again, I don't think I can get into it. It's like baseball for me. It's like I don't know how you I don't know how you get an enjoyment out of this. I always told them, and I mean it's like rabid fans. Like it's nuts. It is nuts. But
I mean the thing is like in universities there are like different auditoriums and everything, and we watch the game there, because everyone like celebrating and watching the game, and even during when I was studying bachelor's in hostel, so downstairs is like the the TV room. So I mean when we have exams, it's so difficult to focus because you can hear the noise, and like in cricket, when Bangladesh is playing, we're studying, okay, and when you hear someone cheering, you understand, okay, we did something good, so you run downstairs and see what's happening, and then again return because you have the exam next day.
Yeah, I know. And then the big rivalry with like obviously with India and Pakistan as well. It's it's crazy. It's crazy. But thank you for coming on, Farhan. I really appreciate hearing all your stories and stuff like that. That's phenomenal. And thank you for sharing your opinion, and we'll definitely get you on in the future when the time works out, obviously.
Obviously.
Hopefully I have a new laptop by then and I don't have to worry about it. But I know. Thank you for coming on. Thank you guys, the viewers, obviously, for hopefully you guys made it to this. I really hope you did, because if you did, you heard a pretty awesome story there. That was sweet. That was really sweet. And guys, as always, you know where to find me. Obviously, at Daniel Anigro on Twitter and Instagram. That's my personal, or where I am 99% of the time now, barring a hockey or football game, at Juventinità DAL on Twitter and Instagram. We're posting everything. We're trying to keep as interactive as possible. I am hoping to release a different kind of series, kind of a short form news story, potentially having some guests on it. So it's going to be a mix of things. I don't have it defined yet, but it's essentially going to revolve around the morning time, around some coffee, and around Juve. So hopefully you guys stay tuned for that one, and you guys enjoy maybe some shorter content that you're able to digest a little bit quicker than these longer podcasts. But as always, you know where to find me. Obviously, podcast, iTunes, Spotify. Those are going to have all your needs, as well as many other platforms. Again, please reach out if there's something that hasn't been tapped into. And if you guys could, please smash the like, smash the subscribe, the follow, and please drop a rating and a comment. That always helps. Some questions, whatever. Something you didn't like, I've always replied. I always keep in touch with you guys. So that would be awesome. And again, thank you, Farhan, for coming. We'll definitely have you on the future. Guys, stay tuned. There's lots of stuff coming up. And as always, fino alla fine. Forza Juventus. Ciao, guys. Thanks.